Hello viewers, 4DIYers here with another tutorial video for everyone. In this particular video here, I'll be doing a demonstration of how to replace the front brakes on a Volvo C30. This tutorial includes both the replacement of the pads and rotors. A similar procedure can also be applied to the Volvo S40, V50, and C70 models. In order to produce this video, Bosch has been kind enough to provide me with the parts required for the replacement. It's best to apply the parking brake and/or chock the rear wheels. Safely jack up the car, remove the wheel, and place a jack stand under the subframe. Loosen the master cylinder reservoir cap to relieve any pressure when pushing back the piston and the calipers. Using a standard screwdriver, remove the retainer spring. It fits into holes on the caliper and clips underneath the caliper carrier bracket. Then remove the plastic caps on the caliper fasteners on the rear. With large interlocking pliers, push the piston back while the caliper is in place. This not only saves you from doing this after, but if you do have a lip on your rotors, this will make the caliper removal much easier. You can turn the wheel out, so you do have better access to the fasteners on the rear, and even more room for a Johnson or breaker bar. Using a 1/2-inch drive ratchet and a 7mm Allen socket, remove the two socket head fasteners. You can leave these in place or pull them out completely. Lift the caliper off the carrier, remove the inner pad which is clipped into the piston. Then tie the caliper off to the coil spring so it doesn't put excessive pressure on the rubber flex line. Using a 15mm socket and a 1/2-inch drive ratchet, remove the two bolts holding on the caliper carrier to the steering knuckle. Remove the old rotor. If yours is stuck in place, use a hammer. Hit the rotor in between each of the wheel studs to help break the rotor free. Using a wire brush, clean up the hub mounting surface, and this will ensure we don't have any unwanted runout which can cause vibrations. Compare the old and new rotors to ensure they are the same. As mentioned earlier, Bosch has been kind enough to provide me with the brake parts in order to produce this video. For rotors, these are Bosch's quiet cast premium rotors that are 100% balanced for smooth operation and have a bimetal aluminum zinc coating to help prevent rust, giving them that clean look, especially on vehicles where they have more open wheels, while providing a long life. Due to the coating, these do not have a oil coating, so there's no need to clean them up during the installation process. Using brake cleaner, wash away any brake dust. I do have quiet cast rotors installed on my Tacoma, and so far, after a few thousand kilometers on the new brakes, I'm extremely happy with them. Install the new rotor. You can use the lug nuts to hold it in place. This will make the installation of the new pads and caliper easier. Clean up the fasteners using a wire brush. Clean the carrier using a wire brush, especially where the pads sit. The pads should sit freely, so no binding. Install the carrier back onto the steering knuckle. Apply medium grade thread locker to those bolts. Then tighten the bolts down. The torque specifications for those bolts are 88 foot-pounds or 120 Newton-meters. As for the brake pads, Bosch has also provided me with the quiet cast premium versions. Compare the old and new inner and outer pads to ensure they are the same. In the brake pad kit also comes new spring retainers and synthetic grease for the caliper pins. Put the outer pad into place. It should fit freely on the carrier. Pull out the old pins. They should be cleaned and have grease applied. Clip on the inner pad to the piston and the caliper. Clean up the old pins using brake cleaner wipes and use a wire brush if needed. Using a synthetic grease, it needs to be rubber safe so it doesn't dry out the bushings in the caliper. Then apply a medium grade thread locker to the threads on the pins. Install the pins, and finally tighten them. The torque specifications are 21 foot-pounds or 28 Newton-meters. Snap the plastic caps back into place for the sliding pins. Install the spring retainer. Start with the one hole, but don't fully seat it just yet. Clip the retainer around the carrier and then insert it on the other hole and gently tap it into place using a hammer. Clean the rotor with brake cleaner if you left any contaminants from dirty hands. And finally, reinstall the wheel. The torque specifications for the lug nuts is 80 foot-pounds or 108 newton meters. Moving on to the opposite side for different angles. Again, elevate the front of the vehicle, safely remove the wheel, and then place a jack stand under the subframe as a safety. The wheel can be turned out to gain better access to those fasteners. Remove a spring retainer on the caliper using a standard screwdriver. Remove those plastic caps using a standard screwdriver for the slide pins. Compress the piston in the caliper using large interlocking pliers. Remove the 2 socket head fasteners. Lift off the caliper and remove the inner pad from the piston. Tie up the caliper to the coil spring with a strap or bungee cord. And finally, remove the outer pad, which just sits into place. Remove the 2 15mm bolts on the caliper carrier bracket, and then remove the bracket. Lift off the rotor. Using a wire brush, clean up any rust or dirt on the hub's mounting surface. Spray the hub and dust shield down with brake cleaner to remove any brake dust and then wipe away. Install the new rotor and use the lug nuts to hold it into place, making it easier for reassembly. Clean up the fasteners using a wire brush. Clean up the caliper carrier bracket using a wire brush too. Then apply medium grade thread locker to the bolts. Reinstall the bracket along with the bolts. The torque specifications for the carrier bolts is 88 foot-pounds or 120 newton meters. Next, reinstall the caliper, but before this gets bolted down into place, the sliding pins will need to be cleaned up. Remove the old lubricant using brake cleaner or brake cleaning wipes. A wire brush can also be used to help remove any old dirt or lubricant. Install the outer brake pad, then snap the inner brake pad into place on the piston. Set the caliper back into place, ensure everything is seated correctly. If you are having issues fitting on the caliper, make sure the piston is fully pushed back. Apply medium grade thread locker to the threads of the pins. Then using the supplied synthetic grease, apply that to the pins. A light layer is all that's needed. Tighten the 7mm socket head bolts. The torque specifications are 21 foot-pounds or 28 newton meters. Reinstall the plastic caps for the sliding pins. Install the new spring retainer onto the caliper and carrier bracket. Reinstall the wheel. The torque specifications for the lug nuts is 80 foot-pounds or 108 newton meters. Tighten the master cylinder reservoir cap. Pump the brake pedal to ensure the pads are within close proximity to the rotor so you don't have the brake pedal sink when you first apply the brakes while driving the car, and you're officially done. New videos are released every week on my channel. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button, it's a huge help to me, and leave a comment below if you found this tutorial helpful. Don't forget to follow my social media pages such as Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter to keep up to date with my latest projects. And if you're not a subscriber, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Thank you for watching.